Nope.
Hello, dear listener, and thank you for joining me in this video. Before we begin, two really quick things. First of all, this video is a cross-promotion with Divinity Activewear. They just released their new Norseman design, so link down below, and there'll be a promo code also in the description if you're interested in checking those out. Also, just want to preface by saying sorry in advance to anybody who may catch me mispronouncing any of the names or locations in this video. I did my best to find out the correct pronunciation, but some may have slipped through, so just keep that in mind when you're listening. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy this video on 10 evil creatures from Norse mythology. Let's begin. Number 1. The Draugr. The Draugr are the undead of Norse mythology. Although some stories describe them as blood-drinking creatures, they are more akin to zombies than vampires. The Draugr possess superhuman strength and can increase their size at will, but they cannot shake the unmistakable stench of decay or the hideous features of their dead body. They often live in graves in order to defend the treasure that they were buried with, but they are also known to enter communities in order to wreak havoc on the living, often tormenting those who wronged them in life. They can kill their victims by crushing their skulls with superior strength, eating their flesh, eating them whole if they are in their enlarged state, or kill them indirectly by driving the person mad. These creatures were said to be able to enter the dreams of the living in order to torment them, and would always leave a gift behind to let them know that the encounter was real. Good news is, the Draugr can be killed and suffer a second death. If their bodies decay too much, or if they are burned, dismembered, or otherwise destroyed, they'll be put down for good. It was believed that evil, greedy, or unpopular people were most likely to become Draugr after their death. Number 2. Faegriman. The Faegriman, also known as the Grim, is a water spirit and creature. He plays the fiddle with incredible talent, mimicking the sounds of the forest, the wind, and the water. He can be induced to teach the skill. He usually requires an offering of stolen meat, such as a goat thrown with its head turned away into the waterfall that flows north. If the offering that is presented does not have enough meat on the bone, the Grim will only teach a basic skill, such as how to tune the fiddle. But if the offering is deemed sufficient, he will take the pupil's right hand and draw them along the strings until they bleed. After doing this, it is said that they will be able to play so well that, quote, even the trees shall dance. Number 3. Loki. Loki, in Norse mythology, is a cunning trickster who had the ability to change his sex and shape. Although his father was the giant Farboti, he was included among the Aesir, a tribe of gods. Loki was represented as the companion of the great gods Odin and Thor, helping them with his clever plans, but sometimes causing embarrassment and difficulty for them and himself. He also appeared as the enemy of the gods, entering their banquet uninvited and demanding their drink. He was the principal cause of the death of Balder. Loki was bound to a rock by the entrails of one or more of his sons, according to some sources, as punishment, thus in many ways resembling the Greek figures Prometheus and Tantalus. Also like Prometheus, Loki is considered a god of fire. With the female giant Angirbode, Loki produced the progeny Hel, the goddess of death, Yormangan, the serpent that surrounds the world, and Fenrir, the wolf. Loki is also credited with giving birth to Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged horse. Number 4. Fenrir. Fenrir was the most famous of many wolf creatures mentioned in Norse mythology. The gods of Asgard raised Fenrir in order to stop him from wreaking havoc across the 9 worlds, but he grew quickly and caused so much trouble that they decided to chain him up instead. The gods convinced Fenrir to let them chain him up by pretending that they were playing a game to see how strong he was. Fenrir easily broke every bond. Eventually, the gods had the dwarves make a special chain that was stronger than any other that was known at the time, but appeared to be light. Fenrir was suspicious of this chain and demanded that one of the gods put his hand in his mouth while he was being chained as a sign of good faith. The god Tyr agreed to this, even though he knew he would end up losing his hand. When Fenrir realized that he had been tricked, he did indeed take the hand of Tyr. Meanwhile, the gods chained him to a boulder and placed a sword in his jaw to keep them open. The resulting drool formed a foamy river called Expectation. The ominous name of the river Expectation appears to be a reference to Ragnarok, the end of the world in Norse mythology, when Fenrir will eventually break from his chains and get revenge. Fenrir is also said to be the father of Skoll and Hati, the other giant wolves that chase the sun and the moon respectively. It is also said that when Ragnarok comes, they will finally catch their targets and devour them. Number 5. Yormangan. Also known as the Midgard serpent, the Yormangan is another one of Loki's children. He is a snake or dragon that lives in the sea that surrounds Midgard, the visible world of humans. It is also said that Odin tossed him into the water to keep him out of trouble. The creature grew so large that he was able to surround the whole of Midgard and grasp his own tail. He is described as an enemy of Thor. In one story, Thor was fishing with the giant Hymir. Not satisfied with the whales that Hymir caught in his favorite fishing spot, Thor insists on going further out to sea, where he actually catches Yormangan on his hook. He pulls the serpent out of the water, and they come face to face, with Yormangan dribbling poison and blood. Hymir is so appalled by this scene that he cuts the fishing line before Thor can kill the serpent with his hammer, and the serpent returns to the sea. It is also said that Thor and Yormangan are fated to slay one another during Ragnarok, when the serpent will emerge from the sea and poison the ocean and the sky. Number 6. Hel. Hel, in Norse mythology, originally the name of the world of the dead. Later, it came to represent the goddess of death. Hel was one of the children of the trickster god Loki, and her kingdom was said to lie downward and northward. It was called Niflheim, or the world of darkness, and appears to have been divided into several sections, one of which was referred to as the Shore of Corpses. There stood a castle facing north. It was filled with the venom of serpents, in which murderers, adulterers, and perjurers suffered torment, while the dragon Nidhogg sucked the blood from their bodies. It was said that those who fell in glorious battle did not go to Hel, but to the god Odin in Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain. Number 7. Haldra. The Haldra are wardens of the forest, parts of a group of Ra that protect various different locations. The female Haldra are always described as incredibly beautiful and seductive, but with the long tail of a cow and with their back covered in bark. The Haldra can disguise themselves as young women to walk in the world of men. The power of their illusion is only broken if someone sees their tail. They visit communities in order to lure young, unmarried men into the forest, where they are kept as slaves, lovers, or sometimes the Haldra will suck the life out of them. And unfortunately, that is not a euphemism. It is also said that if one of their victims were ever to escape, that they will forever be tormented with the temptation to return to their captor. Number 8. The Yotnir. The Yotnir are the giants of Norse mythology, and are described as having powers that rival the gods themselves. Rather than referring to their size, the name Yotnir means devourers. They were the enemy of the gods. The gods of Asgard represented order, while the Yotnir embodied chaos. Nevertheless, many of the Asgardian gods were actually descended from the Yotnir. Odin himself is half Yotnir, and Thor is 3/4. The Asgardian gods did not seek to kill the Yotnir, but to keep them in check so that the universe can remain in balance. The role of balance in Norse mythology is key, especially in the myth of creation, in which gods constructed the cosmos from the corpse of the slain Yotnir, who went by the name Ymir. Number 9. Norns. I'll start by saying that it can very easily be argued that these entities were not inherently evil. The Norns are female beings and creatures that both create and control fate, even controlling the fate of the gods. They would appear at each birth to weave their thread of fate by casting lots, weaving a piece of cloth, or carving symbols into wood. The Norsemen believed that fate was blind and implacable, and that there was no evidence of anyone ever impeaching the Norns to change their fate. The 3 principal Norns also served as the caretakers of the Tree of Life that holds the 9 worlds of Norse mythology. Their care only slows the death of the tree, as a cornerstone of Norse mythology is that eventually all things will come to an end, as Ragnarok is unavoidable. Number 10. Mare. The Mare monster gave people bad dreams at night by sitting on them in their sleep. It was believed that the Mare were the souls of living people which left their bodies at night like demons. Often these were witches whose soul took the forms of animals, but normal people, in particular adolescents, were also thought to become Mare when their spirits wandered. The idea that the soul wandered at night was a common belief in Norse mythology. Odin's soul wandered so often that he worried one day it may not return back to his body. It was also believed that when the Mare touched a living thing, people, cattle, or trees, it would cause their hair to become entangled. This was used to explain the Polish plate phenomenon, which is a hair disease. It was also said to be why branches and roots of some trees became entangled. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, you know what to do. Simply stick your hand out, summon Mjolnir, pick up that hammer, and drop it on that like button. You know what I'm saying? But only if you're worthy. And you know what? I think you're worthy. But seriously guys, if you guys made it through the video and made it through my poor pronunciations that I'm sure I made, even though I googled every word that confused me, and if the cicadas in the background didn't turn you off, then thank you if you made it this far. If you did make it this far, like I mentioned at the beginning, I am making this video in cross promotion with Divinity Activewear. They just released their new line of designs to honor the Norsemen. The two designs feature Tyr, the god of war, who was mentioned earlier in this video. He lost his hand, as reflected in the design, and Freya, who is a powerful goddess and sorceress herself. So link down below if you're interested in checking that out. If you are interested, there will also be a promo code with the link where you can save a little bit off your order if you decide to place an order. But otherwise, remember to stay safe out there. I'll be seeing you in the next video.